Good evening, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So there's a couple of articles that I wanted to bring to your attention. They were talking about Zimbabwe and some of the situation that's going on over there with Zimbabwe and what the people are doing about it, because this is a very, I like looking at Zimbabwe. Their economy collapsed. And what it is that the people are doing during this economic collapse is what intrigues me. Okay? Now, there could be a lot of reasonings, and I'm sure people have all the excuses in the world to what happened to Zimbabwe and why their economy is in the toilet or whatever. I'm sure a lot of that is probably very worthy of discussion, but that's not what I'm really looking at. What I'm looking at is what the people are doing, what their reactions are, how are they handling this, and what is it that they're using for their currency. Because you go and you look at Zimbabwe, and you go and you look at Venezuela, and you go and you look at Argentina, and you go and look at these places that had an economic collapse to them, what is the one thing that they almost always turn to? The dollar. The US dollar is the number one form of currency during an economic collapse. Over in Zimbabwe, they have a guy, I was reading an article, this is one of the articles, this guy who was found that he could get a business going by buying old tattered out bills, right? So these old dollar bills that the store no longer wants to accept because they're so tattered out. He's figured out a way to repair these things. He buys them at a discount, repairs them, and then makes a little bit of a profit by entering these things back into circulation. People are literally doing this over in Zimbabwe. It's a really sad story with the kids. These kids who are not going to school because of the pandemic, they are forced to help out their parents, or their families by, coming up with some sort of form of currency or some sort of money, are now panning for gold on the riverbanks. And these stories are just horrid. These kids, they're exploited, they're ripped off, they're beaten up. They're not treated very well for going off and getting this gold. And then on top of it, the country made it illegal for them to go and pan for this gold. So on top of it, they're breaking the law to even go out there and attempt to help their family while they get exploited and ripped off and beaten up. It is terrible over there. But you look at it, gold and dollars. It's an economic collapse, and those are the two forms of currency that they want the most. And so I think about that. I think about economies crashing around the world. What is it that they're going to turn to? They're going to turn to dollars, and they're going to turn to gold. You only have to look at Venezuela, Argentina, Zimbabwe, and the other countries that are similar to it and what they have done. So this is the reason why I've been so adamant about saving in cash and precious metals, is that as the economies around the world, if there ever comes a possibility that those things start to collapse all over the place, they're going to turn to two items: dollars and gold. And now, with cryptocurrencies out on the market, Bitcoin has a very reasonable expectations to be inside of that game with that dollar and gold. And if you look at Venezuela right now, there's like more Bitcoin transactions in Venezuela than there is just about anywhere else in the world. It's because they don't have a viable form of currency to do their transactions. But Bitcoin, outside of the government, circumventing the government, gives them the ability to do transactions without interference, essentially. So that's what I look at. That's the reason why I am so adamant about cash and precious metals, and on a lesser extent, Bitcoin. And for those of you out there who think that I'm against Bitcoin, you are absolutely wrong. I buy Bitcoin every week. I try to every week, at least once a month. I buy just a little bit of Bitcoin. And I am constantly adding to my position. I like Bitcoin. For anybody who thinks that I don't, you're wrong. And even though I put out a video this morning talking about those censorship pools, and that there could be a possibility that they could disregard wallets that are of nefarious people or whatever, those are ideas that are out there, okay? I'm not the one who invented that idea. I didn't make it up. Okay? I have articles for you to read. If you disagree with the idea, then say so. You don't have to call me stupid. You don't have to call me naive or ignorant towards the thing. Okay? There is plenty of people out there who have a legitimate belief that this is a possibility. Okay? And that if it is a possibility, it is something that you should consider. Now, whether or not it's going to actually come to fruition, who knows? Okay, that's not the point. The point is that you need to log it up in there and say, hey, this is a possibility for the future, and we need to keep that in mind. If you don't, then you're the one who is ignorant. Okay, you need to keep everything as a possibility open, even how far-fetched it seems. What is it? There's a famous quote out there. The mark of an educated mind is the ability to entertain a thought without being able to accept it. That is a brilliant statement. To be able to entertain a thought without having to accept it. So for those of you out there who think that they can come out onto my channel in the comments and tell me to stop talking about certain things, you're wrong. I'm not going to stop talking about it. In fact, if you make me mad about it, I might just talk about it every single time. Just to make you mad about it. Just out of spite. Not really a spiteful person, but I will do that. Anyway, just wanted to bring that up. Thought those articles from Zimbabwe were quite interesting, and how it is that people are going to react during an economic collapse, and what is it that they turn to. It's a very realistic way of looking at things, is to look at those countries that have failed and just see what the people have done. Okay? Anyhow, I gotta go in and get something to eat. I'm starving. Uneducated Economist. You guys let me know.